Hello, everybody, and welcome back to NCAA 2004 in the Alabama Crimson Tide Dynasty mode. And it is offseason time once again. And we are national champs heading into this offseason for the fourth time in the series. We have finally grabbed national championship number 4, and we seem to keep taking a year off. That seems to be the pace that we keep having. We keep taking a year off after each championship. So hopefully we can win back-to-back next season. That's going to be the goal. But we're going to see through recruiting and who we lose how possible that's going to be or not possible at all. So, but looking over the stats here, we are back to our quarterbacking ways as LaShawn Robinson has a fantastic year with 4,300 yards and 44 touchdowns. Somehow doesn't win quarterback of the year. I really don't know how. I think I even went through the voting, and I think he was in there, but I don't know how he didn't win it. But we do have a Heisman winner, so I guess we will take that. Take the good with the bad here as Jameel Nichols rushes for over 1,500 yards and 18 touchdowns, even has over 400 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns, so absolutely well-deserved. One of the most productive people on this team, along with Stephen Barker, with over 1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns. Darius Vann had a decent year as a junior. Hopefully he comes back for his senior season. Broderick Black was one of the more productive receivers on the team, too, at tight end. David Hines didn't have an awful year either. A lot of juniors, though, so hopefully these people come back. Obviously, Broderick Black and I think Barker are also leaving, but, like Hines and stuff, we would love to see them come back. Same with Ryan Reynolds. I'd love to see Ryan Reynolds come back. 10 touchdowns on less than 600 yards. I'd love to see what he can do in a senior season. So looking over the offensive line, though, Dominic Cochran had a great year. Marion Bradley also had a pretty solid year, a sophomore year. Damian Kirkland here at senior, you kind of like the sacks to be down, but Kerry Higgins only allowing 1 sack is great too. Delvin Gill is a sophomore, so a lot of young guys on our offensive line. We should be all right moving forward in that department. And Joel Davis leading the team at 65 tackles. You kind of wish for a little bit more, but 23 TFLs that leads the team by over 10, and also 9 sacks. So give the flowers to him because he was absolutely leading the charge right now. But Fabian Schmidt, 7 interceptions, man. I feel like we saw a lot of those during the season. We watched a lot. And Kevin Wagner had 6, and I feel like we didn't watch any of those. I mean, what happened? What's going on here? But Dave Dennis has himself a great year kicking-wise, up 5% from his freshman season. So he's only a sophomore, so that should continue to get better. But looking over the standings now in the SEC, we are of course at the top. Arkansas finishes second, and a 9-4 Tennessee is third, with Vanderbilt dropping all the way to 4th following their loss in the SEC championship. Florida has a decent year finally. Somebody asked me about that. It's probably the best year they've had in the entire sim. South Carolina, after an abysmal year in conference, drops all the way down to 7th, even though they're 9-4. And then we have Auburn, Mississippi State, and Kentucky all sitting at the bottom, holding up the caboose per usual. And Ole Miss as well, man. Just terrible, terrible teams. All in the West, by the way. So just a have and have not situation in the Western Division of the SEC. That just seems to be the consistent trend. I don't know why, but we top, of course, the top 25. Notre Dame comes up at 2. Colorado State moves up to 3. Penn State moves up to 4. Maryland moves up to 5 to round out your top 5. Ohio State moves up 1 spot to 6. Fresno State drops all the way to 7th. Southern Miss moves up a spot to 8. Virginia Tech drops to 9th. TCU, USC, West Virginia, Illinois, Arkansas all remain in their same spots here. Michigan moves up to 15. Oklahoma moves up to 16. UCF moves all the way up inside the top 20. Georgia Tech drops to 18. Oregon State drops to 19. South Carolina sneaks in after a bowl victory to get ranked. Oregon drops to 21st. Texas drops to 22nd. So they had a rough year after we beat them. Same with Oklahoma State. Still winning 10 games, though, so we'll give them the credit on that one, managing to still win 10 games after losing to us. So, but Stephen Barker is looking to leave as a junior. So I thought he was already a senior, but he's a junior and he's already looking to leave and head early to the draft. So is Dominic Cochran, who was one of our best offensive line players, just contributors, just period, and he's looking to leave early as well. So we're also losing the Heisman winner. Jameel Nichols is graduating. LaShawn Robinson is, of course, graduating as well. Robbie Tanner's finally flying the coop, man. He's finally leaving. And Broderick Black is also graduating. Dominic Kirtland is leaving as well. Higgins is gone. Van is leaving as well. Nash, good Lord. Fabian Schmidt's gone. Neil Goodwin is also leaving. Stephen Latimer's gone. Man, it's a lot of big pieces, man, a lot. But I'm just going to keep singing the praise that we reload. And we don't rebuild, we reload. But I don't know if we have enough mid to high 90-somethings to replace all of these guys, especially at like fullback and tight end and maybe even like some of the line pieces. So it's going to be scary, but we will now look over recruiting and see exactly what I was able to cook up with this recruiting class. We're back to the stage where we just recruit at will. Any 5-star that wants to come is going to come. That's how I'm trying to recruit. So we do get the number 2 quarterback in the class here, a new 5-star free safety. a couple tackles on defensive side and offensive side, an outside linebacker here, the 12th running back in the country, the 4th center in the country, the number 1 defensive tackle in the country, as long as the number 1 outside linebacker in the country. So plenty of 5 stars across the board here. We also got a slew of 4 stars who probably won't stick around through the cutting phase. We probably don't need them as much. And then recruiting assistant throws us a bunch of these 3 and 2 stars. And again, maybe for the next series I'll turn it off. I do like it when it helps you like put people on your board who you're not really looking at who want to come there, but when it adds all these 2 and 3 stars, it just gets annoying. So, but now, of course, I'm going to show you who we missed out on. So here's all the big names we missed out on. So the number 1 receiver in the country decided to go to USC. So it's unfortunate, but he decided to go to USC. Then the number 2 receiver in the country ended up going to Florida. So not only do we lose the number 2 receiver, but we lose him to a conference rival. The number 2 center in the country ends up going to Penn State, which is big here. The number 1 defensive end that I really wanted ended up flipping to Ohio State. I think we had him down to the last week, and he ended up flipping and going to Ohio State. We lose the number 9 receiver in the country to Southern Miss, and that is just brutal. Brutal. Those freaking Eagles, man. They're just a thorn in my side. The number 3 defensive end goes to Middle Tennessee. Why? Why would you do that? Why? Oh, man, we lose a guard to Oklahoma as well. The number 1 guard in the country who I also wanted ends up going to Oklahoma. That one at least makes a little bit of sense. I can understand that, going to Oklahoma. So the number 3 tight end goes to West Virginia as well, and that's really the major losses that we suffer in terms of recruiting. But we do get the number 1 recruiting class back, man. We haven't had it for a couple seasons, but we are finally back at the top, baby, with 11 5 stars. No one's even close to that. So TCU loads their class with 4 stars, and that gets them at 2, though. So good for TCU. Southern Miss with another top class here. USC and Maryland also here at the top. West Virginia is on the uptick. Remember, we got an offer to go coach at West Virginia, so they're getting a little bit better here. A lot more familiar faces up here. Fresno State staying sharp. Ohio State, along with Colorado State. Oklahoma State as well. Same with Texas and Oklahoma. So that Red River rivalry should be pretty strong the next couple of seasons, man. Nevada's still sticking up here as well. Remember, they were decent last year, the year before. Notre Dame in the top here. Florida, South Carolina, Arkansas, a trio of SEC schools in the top 25 for recruiting. You got Michigan, Air Force, Penn State, Miami, and then UCF out of the MAC here is also there, and then Oregon rounds out the top 25. So that is how recruiting is going to go, at least in the top schools of the world. But looking through our training results here, we got a few breakthroughs, a lot of guys getting over that 90 overall threshold. We still have a lot of them, as you're seeing as I flip through the roster very quickly. I basically just use the training results to just kind of get a quick overview of the roster before we get into the depth chart and fully see exactly who's going to be where. So I think the overall pointage, just the average on each position is trending downward. I think it is a downward trend, but we still definitely have a lot of skilled guys at a lot of skilled positions. So I don't think we're losing a ton in a lot of different places, but it is obvious, or it is very clear to see that it is a gradual downward trend. The more that you kind of look over things, it's like getting closer to the mid 80s rather than like the low to mid 90s. So I'm not sure how much a repeat of a national championship is possible, but we're certainly going to try. we're going to believe it. So Dre Gates is our starting quarterback at a sophomore, so we might see Dre Gates for a couple seasons at least at a 90 overall, with Cal Lumpkin behind him and then Ernest Slaughter, a freshman. So we have a young quarterback class, and they're all pretty decent. So that makes me feel good for the future. Lionel Blackman's going to be our starting running back. Then we have a couple of young guys behind him as well, but they're low, so not great. J.C. McClintock is a senior. He's going to be our fullback. He's been behind Robbie Tanner for like 2 or 3 years, so he's finally going to start for us at fullback. We don't have much behind him. At receiver, Ryan Reynolds is our top receiver at 95. Big boost from him. Darius Vance up to a 92. David Hines up to a 90. So receiving core should be perfectly fine. We also have Cliff Herman at an 87. So it's great, man. Lenny Horner's going to be our starting tight end at 94. And then we have some good depth behind him. LaTroy Jackson's going to be our starting left tackle as a junior at 85. But we are going to look over. Delvin Gill's going to be our starting left guard at a 96 overall. Kurt Bond is going to be our freshman center. So we have a brand new freshman center at 83. Marion Bradley's going to start at right guard, and then Juan Walden is going to start at right tackle. So we still have a pretty decent offensive line here, but just the freshman is all we're looking at. So Marvin Dalton is our starting left end at an 81. Daniel Haley is a 93. So left end is kind of fallen off a little bit. So is defensive tackle. It's Herman Sapp, the freshman, and John Costa, also the freshman, are going to be starting here at defensive tackle. So it's brutal, man. It's getting rough. But Ulrich is starting at left outside linebacker at 96. Nathan Ellison in the middle linebacking position at 93 as a junior, and then Joel Davis is up to a 99 as a senior. So the linebacking core should still be good, help out our defensive line as they kind of struggle a bit. But Joshua Bowen's still here, so he's a 99. Kevin Wagner's still here at a 96, but then it's a steep fall off to an 82 overall with Bentley and John Fedrick as a freshman. So DB is not as deep as we like it. Then Ryan Hopkins is starting as a 92 overall free safety for us this season. Then we have Kendrick Solomon behind him, who I like. And then Theo Thornton we're going to keep around and see how they both develop. John Paul, a sophomore at a 90 already. As a sophomore, is already up to a 90 at strong safety. So hopefully the guys behind him develop a little bit better. And then Dave Dennis is going to be kicking, and Leroy Hastings is going to be punting. So that is how the roster looks. So outside the defensive line, I still think we have a pretty solid team all around that probably could win a natty. And so here is the schedule as we're going to run it here. I wanted to play, in honor of the Idaho series ending, I wanted to play them in year 11, but I forgot. So in year 12, we're going to be playing Idaho. I put Idaho in the schedule, and then I put Minnesota. I wanted to play 2 games in domes. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to play 2 games in domes. And then because we need a tough game, Notre Dame is currently ranked number 2 in the country, so we're going to be playing the Fighting Irish as well. That's going to be our big, tough at-a-conference game because I always at least schedule us one of those. So carrying a 22-game win streak into year number 12, we're going to be carrying it into Moscow, Idaho, playing in the Kiwi Dome, something that I know has never happened in Alabama program history. So we're going to be traveling all the way up to Moscow, Idaho to play the Vandals, who are bad. They're very bad. They're 116th out of, I think, 117 or 18 schools. So, but I hope to see you guys in Moscow when we take on the Vandals with Sick Naven.